Hi, hi everyone. Welcome to A New View. I'm Kim, and I'm here with Shira, Lee, and Juji. We are four friends, speakers, and professionals from different cultures, backgrounds, and age groups coming together to offer healing and inspiration. Today, we are going to talk about a behavior called fawning, which is new to me until recently. It's one way of surviving childhood trauma, a path to safety, where you forfeit your own sense of self, well-being, needs, and boundaries to appease the wishes, needs, and demands of other people. I think most people could relate to this behavior in one way, shape, or form. Ladies, this topic is quite a doozy. Who wants to start us off?
I'll go first. You guys know I'm like pretty obsessed with digging into the human psyche in general. And so I am just like a sponge soaking up as much as I can about the nuances of our behavioral patterns. And I had heard of fight or flight, which is a trauma response to things that happened in our childhood. And then freeze, of course, which is more of a passive behavior. But fawning was new to me too. And I wanted to share a podcast with you all, which we will put in the show notes, about what it means to fawn. And what I loved so much about this podcast is the psychologist was talking about how on one end of the spectrum of trauma responses is fight, and on the other end of the spectrum is fawn. So if fighting is a trauma response where you get really not, where you're on the offense, right? You're pushing against something that is uncomfortable. Fawning is more like the defense, like when you're in a goal, basically you're the goalie and you're trying to like stop the ball from coming at you, and you're doing everything in your power to placate those around you in order to control their behavior. We can call it walking on eggshells. We can call it like overcompensating. And, the idea of fawning is all about like fawning all over someone else, telling them how great they are, telling them how much you care about them, even if you're doing it out of fear of them rejecting you. And the reason why I felt like this was such an important topic is because we all do this to some level. We all do it. And it's not because we had you don't have to have had like an abusive childhood in order to learn in one way, shape, or form, especially as women, that the path of least resistance is being overly nice, being overly accommodating, stuffing down our own needs and abandoning ourselves in order to please another person. Unfortunately, most of the time that other person is male, and we believe that we are doing the right thing by placating, by diminishing ourselves, because that's going to keep us safe. Everything we do in trauma response is an attempt at creating safety, is an attempt at regulating our nervous system, but at what cost, right? That's really what we're talking about. What is the cost of fawning? What is the cost of self-abandonment in order to please other people?
Well, Juji, I have to tell you that when you shared that podcast with, her name is Ingrid Carlson?
Clayton.
No. Clayton. I mean, the things that were coming out of her mouth and the interviewer's mouth were just literally one thing after another of like things that I know that I've discovered about myself in the last few years. But like hearing her stories, it was such a validation for me, because what we don't understand, what we're starting to really get into is this understanding of like trauma with a capital T, trauma with a small t. Like a lot of people think of trauma, it's like I was abused, I was hit, I was, severely neglected, like trauma, like, but there's just like little tiny traumas that just, form who you are and inform who you are. And when you're young, your parents are your everything. Like they are here to take care of you. So we can't know what is being formed inside of us when these small traumas with the small letter T are happening to us over time. And my hope is that, podcasts like this, books that we're reading, things that we're talking about will bring more conscious awareness to these issues and allow people to deal with them earlier on in life. Because I definitely am a fawn. Like I probably look a little bit like a fawn, but I definitely, I have absolutely had extreme fawning tendencies. And only now in the last few years have I started to unpack like, wow, where did that come from? Where did my need to people please and put everybody else's needs above my own at the cost of me being authentic, me taking care of myself emotionally, physically, and otherwise? Because to the outside world, I think I definitely was taking care of myself and felt confident, but like over time, it was just really eroding at my self-esteem in ways that I can't even begin to tell you. And it's like the price you pay for, living with certain people that didn't have the capacity to enrich you emotionally because they were dealing with their own stuff. So I'm so grateful that I have found this awareness and these resources to help me unpack these things. And one of them is, and we've talked about this before, is the 12-step program that I do called ACA, which is Adult Children of Alcoholics and Dysfunctional Families, very long acronym. And when you look at the laundry list traits, there's a lot of fawning stuff going on in there. And the readings and the journaling and the sharing, all of the stuff that's happened with me being part of this group has helped me unpack this stuff. And you feel different inside. I just feel like a different person inside, like my chemical makeup, my brain waves, like all of it is just shifting and changing and morphing. And it's quite extraordinary.
I think awareness is so profound. Like it's just so magical, because me too, Shira, I attend ACA as well. And I can easily pick 10 of the 14 traits of fawning that I still do today with certain people in my life. It's just that now I'm aware of it. I wasn't aware of it before. Feeling responsible for other people and their feelings, not setting boundaries, just like really not like taking your power and just allowing everyone else's needs to come first in the smallest ways. It doesn't have to be, like you said, this big, huge thing. It's like it in the smallest ways, I fawn. And only now at 40, almost 47 years old, I'm only now aware of it. And I'm only now aware fully. I mean, I did ACA when I was a teenager too. But only now am I really understanding how those personality traits that I developed to survive in my house growing up, how I've taken them into my adult life and how the cost of them. What does it cost me in my relationships? What does it cost me with my friendships? Like, what does it cost me? Like, what is it doing to me to consistently walk around with these traits and continue to fawn? And it's really costing me my happiness. And a lot of times I don't see it or feel it because I'm like blind to it because I wasn't fully aware. And now that I'm aware, now the cost feels way more like just higher. Like now that I see it, now my soul sees it and my soul is like, you did it again, and it's like, and that doesn't make me happy. That doesn't feel good. That doesn't like invoke joy. It just makes me consistently see and be aware of like all these things that are so innate in me. It's like the behavior is so innate and so like it's dominant. It's dominant. It's just like I don't even think sometimes when I do it. when I
Can
fawn.
you give us an example, Kim?
Yes, for sure.
I
Thank
was
you,
thinking
Julie.
of what I wanted to share.
Yeah, because we need to get more specific on when we talk, right? We need to like tell our audience listening what this can look like in your everyday. That's what's helpful. That's what they'll relate to. It could be something as simple as being out to dinner with someone and they want the steak and we're sharing, and I really want the fish. But I'm like, well, okay, I'll get the steak. And I don't even think about it. And that is like the tiniest example, but it's just what comes to mind. A bigger fawning example, there's definitely somebody in my family that it is way easier to fawn with this person, because if I am my authentic self, it will bring conflict to our relationship. So, but if I fawn and I say what I think they want to hear, or I, return her call, even though I don't want to talk to her, right? Like just everyday behavior. That's I'm trying to avoid conflict. I'm doing what I don't want to do. I'm not setting boundaries. I'm making myself responsible for their emotions because I'm scared of how it's going to affect me. And I'm trying to just take the safe path, take the least resistant path. But if I don't want to talk to someone, or if I don't want to, say something, like sometimes I'll be on the phone with this particular person and, I'm sorry that I'm not like comfortable to say the person's name because I don't want more conflict in my life. But I'm just saying I could be on a phone call and that person could say something that I just don't agree with. And the authentic Kim can say, well, listen, I don't agree. We don't have to agree. I feel this way, right? Like a normal relationship, you'd hope the person wouldn't take it personally and you could conversate about it. There's no conversating. It's, you don't agree with me, it's going to be a fight.
Can I
So,
point something out to you, Kim?
yes.
I actually think that the dinner example was more powerful than the example you're giving right now, because the dinner example is there is no conflict and yet I'm still fawning. This person would 100% accept that you wanted salmon and that they want steak, but you still abandoned yourself. That's when fawning gets to be really, really like murky, right? Because your behavior is still fawning even when there is no danger.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
That is a
Love it.
amazing
Wow.
point. Yeah. And
Yeah.
when I said before that it's innate, I am one of everyone on the planet. I'm sure there's so much in our subconscious that we don't even, there's no awareness. It's just so deep. It's just so deep. So the groups like ACA and podcasts like this, and just learning these words and what they mean and how they affect you, I think it's everything in, like, it could be life changing because it's all in the awareness. And now I'm like digging it all up. And now I'm seeing that I wanted the salmon. I didn't see that before. I was like, whatever, steak is fine.
Yeah, no big deal.
Yeah. And
You
I
knew
have to say, it's made such a difference. I mean, it's kind of a short journey for me. I've only been really going to ACA and learning more about these traits in the last few months. And just seeing them and my everyday behavior, at least now I can go, oh, I did it again.
Yeah.
Like that's huge,
It is huge. And though, the journey itself, it's never short. I think it's the practice of it that is the long part, because we need to sustain that now. Once we are aware of something new. And I love how awareness, obviously, it comes up in every one of our episodes. It's what life is about. For me with the fawning, which again, I am also so grateful to have all of these amazing resources, these podcasts that we're sharing amongst each other, and videos and people and books, like, have been life-changing, have been very eye-opening. And all of these, really, they offer so many amazing nuggets, into, I know, all of our individual lives. And for me, and I think you're right, Juji, like we all fawn to some degree, right? And for me, the people pleasing or realization of doing this fawning has helped me also to now in my life to show up for myself more, just to show up for myself and to also get more comfortable with my authentic self, because that has shown up more for me now, and I'm learning to embrace that, and I'm learning to be comfortable with it. And it's, it's not really ever comfortable again going through that journey, because obviously it's uncomfortable, but it's also the deconditioning. It's part of a deconditioning of everything we have known ourselves to be, which is not who we really are, but are learning how to become.
Well, I mean, I was just thinking about examples because I fawned all over the place in as far back as I can remember. I remember being in middle school and just wanting to belong, wanting to fit in, wanting to be accepted. And I remember stupid examples of like people saying something about like, oh, did you see blah, blah, blah movie? And I'd be like, oh yeah, wasn't it great? I didn't fucking see the movie. What the hell is wrong with me? Why would you say you saw a movie if you didn't see a movie? Like, that's such a sick example, but like I remember things like that because I just wanted to fit in. And like, I grew up in a very sort of isolated, any family that I had was 6,000 miles away. So I literally grew up with my parents and my brother and sister. Like I did not have extended family around me. And, both my parents, love them. They raised me, they supported me, they did the best that they could. But emotional well-being was not anything that was discussed in my family. And I see now that I did take those traits into my adulthood of trying to please and be the cheerleader and go with the flow. And I always prided myself on how go with the flow I am. But meanwhile, my soul was flowing down the river, so like I think of examples of not being able to afford things. And my ex saying, let's do this, let's go buy that, let's go to dinner, and I'm like, but we can't afford it. Like, we're not doing well. I mean, I'm being very, very, very transparent right now. These are things that I hid in shame with for years and years of not taking responsibility. And I could have as easily been like, no, we're not doing that. And yet I went along. I went along to get along. And really, really suffered the consequences of that. And so I see that now, and I'm handling things very, very differently. But that's life, sometimes you just got to have that, anvil on your head until you actually wake up and go, I'm so grateful for it. I'm grateful. I would never, ever do it differently. The only regret I have, if I ever think of regret, is what I modeled for my children. I think that I always thought I was modeling good, healthy behavior, but I can see now that I absolutely was not. And so those are things that I have to take responsibility for. And I am.
Shira, you know how in ACA, well, I'll tell you, everyone, in step 1, they do what's called like a tree diagram, where it's kind of like your family tree. It's pretty much your family tree. But they have all of these labels that you basically, after you do your family tree, you put it together, and then you go back and you just put the labels next to each person's name. It could be alcoholic, it could be heavy debtor, someone who's always spending money they don't have. It could be the person who's pleasing. They call that person the great cook, like she's always cooking for people, like always, taking care of everyone else. So there's all these labels. There's a ton of them. And we've been, in my group, we've been working on ours and presenting them to the group. And it's been fascinating because you see how far back, not just how far back with great, great, great grandparents, but then you see all these siblings and cousins and then their children. And then you're just like, oh yeah, that person was in jail for, that person it does have an addiction, or that person is, a workaholic, or like just so next thing you know, you have all these labels next to it. And it just goes back so far, generations. It's mind-blowing because it just gives you this enormous picture that there was no authenticity back then. Like there was no conversations like this. I mean, maybe there was, and I just don't know it, but I just feel like we are waking up, and thank God it's happening a lot, and we are able to, benefit from it, because just looking back, there was no, like, it just seemed like on all these family trees, there's like, it's rare that there's a healthy person without any of these labels. It's so
Because it was
rare.
secrets. It's your family secrets.
Yes, yes. And we all have them. And you
Yep.
know what? I want those secrets, and I want these personality traits to end with me. I mean, I'm not having children, so it does end with me, I guess. But I don't want to come back in my next lifetime with these traits. Like, I want to work on them, release them. I want to just really, by the time I'm dead, I want to feel the most joy and the most freedom and peace I've ever felt. And that's
Or
it.
maybe before you're dead.
Yeah.
Yeah,
way
yeah.
before you're dead.
I think I sent you the meme, Kim, that was like, emotions run through families until somebody's ready to feel them.
Oh, that was so good.
Wow. Yeah, that's
So
really
good.
good.
And I remember posting that, and somebody replied back and said it ran in the family until it ran into me.
Mm. Ooh, I
Love
just
it.
got a chill.
I remember. I love that. You know what? We have to talk about our emotions and what we're going through, and these traits and things we do and feel and see. Like, first seeing it and then just talking about it. Like, we have to get more open with each other. Families have to be more open with each other.
Wait, Kim, can I just say one thing? I just say
Yeah.
this one thing.
Please.
That when one of the things in the podcast that she talked about was that I didn't know what I was feeling. Like, I honestly didn't know, because I gave over so much and I deferred so much that at some point, if that's going on for years and years, you're just like, wait a minute, what do I want? Do I want steak? Do I want salmon? I don't fucking know. Like,
Right.
because you're so used to doing for others. So like, that's a huge aha moment that we can definitely teach the next generation. What's going on for you? Maybe take an empathy guess. Is this what's happening for you? Because when you just lose yourself, you're just like, I don't know.
Well, and just asking yourself that question, what do I want? And just sit with it, because I relate, Shira, like, a lot of times I just don't know. And I think I'm just not used to like asking myself and letting it sit for a few minutes.
Yeah.
But
Now I know. Now I
yeah.
definitely know.
I'm getting to know more and more, but like, it doesn't just come so natural to me. But one thing that Ingrid said in that podcast that was so life-changing was, she said, when you have those uncomfortable feelings, like, it's about learning how to tolerate those feelings. So like, there's all these traits, and like, they make you feel a certain way. And then she also said, when you're feeling those icky, gross, uncomfortable things, it means you're moving in the right direction. And it's about learning how to tolerate those feelings. And I think through the putting my needs first and learning how to tolerate sitting with the feelings that come with that, the icky, gross, guilt, shame, whatever, like, that's how I'm going to get to know what I really do want, steak or salmon.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only way there, is to sit with that, the yuckiness.
Sit with the shit.
Zeus, did you want to say something and I cut you off, or no?
No, I feel like that's perfect. You just said, I said it ran in the family until it ran into me. The emotions ran in the family until someone was ready to feel them. The icky feelings is what you're ready to feel, and it took this long for you to get ready. And like, I've heard you say multiple times, like, and I'm 46 years old. And I'm like, dude, you are so far ahead of the game for most people. It may not feel that way, but holy smokes.
Bravo.
Like, I want you to celebrate that. Yeah, I'm only 46 years old and I'm ready to feel these feelings. Fuck yeah.
Oh my God,
There's
love
a
that
new
shift in
perspective.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perspective.
Yeah, that is such a good shift in perspective. Holy shit.
Mic drop.
I still
It's
have
not
like a
every
whole
day.
another 46 years to go.
Think about
Hi,
that.
girl.
And more,
Right.
but think about
That's
all the
right.
people we know who don't, right? It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. It just matters that. It doesn't matter when.
Yeah.
So good, Shira. Love that.
Well, ladies, oh my gosh, this was such a good episode. I'm just so grateful that like this word fawning came into my life. So thank you, Juji, for sending me that podcast.
Thank
I'm
you, Juji.
definitely going to put it below so that all of you listening can listen to it because it was seriously life-changing for all of us. So, all right, well, if you've enjoyed our conversation, please subscribe to our channel and be sure to let us know if you have any topic requests or questions by commenting below. So we'll see you soon. Thank you so much for watching, everybody.
Bye.